Anybody hear me clearly? Can you all hear me clearly?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
oh good, sorry, thank you. Yeah, sometimes if my connection's a bit dodgy, I might have to switch my video off. I'll just a pre-warning, but it should be okay, I hope. Look, yeah, so thanks everyone for coming to our AGM today. I'd just like to start by giving an acknowledgement to country, and I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which we all meet today and recognise their continuing connection to this country, its flora and fauna, and to all of our communities. And I'd like to offer my respects to elders past and present. So thank you. I just want to say a few introductory comments before we get further into the meeting. And just firstly to thank everyone here and all the other members that couldn't make it today, but to all of our Staa members for another, I think, great year as part of the community of shiatsu practitioners that we have Australia-wide. And for those who are here, thanks for attending the AGM. Much like last meeting, so the 2020 AGM, 2021 was a difficult year for Staa and for, I think, most people probably who are here at the moment, with lots of continually changing restrictions due to the pandemic, various government rules and regulation changes, etc. That provided a backdrop of very challenging environments for all of us as shiatsu practitioners to operate within. And I think a lot of people have been very stressed and very patient actually with what's gone on. And I think it's definitely a difficult time, but it's good to see some maybe light now at the end of the tunnel with respect to a lot of what's gone on over the last 2 years. But like I've said this to the National Council, difficulties present opportunities. We were able to help support members over the last couple of years, not only with the government policy updates we tried to keep up to date with, and that was at times, I must say, difficult. Different states had different rules, so different communications were necessary for that. There's a lot of support within National Council to make sure that we tried to keep up to date best we could, particularly Kaya Seaton on the National Council did a fantastic job of making sure that we were up to date best we could be. Thanks to Kaya for that. We also continued to develop and offer our online training sessions and mentoring programs that have been very successful for Staa and I think very valuable to our members. And that's something that we developed over a period of time, and I think really that effort came to the fore over the last couple of years in particular, when it was really needed by, to continue community best we could with our practitioners, and also to continue to offer, opportunities and pathways for things like CPE hours, etc. And I think, the last 12 months, there's been some interesting sessions around Okido yoga, distant healing practices, breath work, things that Linda has worked on in her programs, and macrobiotics. We invited Ken McLean from Sydney to give some discussions around macrobiotics and the integration of that with shiatsu, which I think was well received. We also had the chance to liaise with government agencies to seek a much clearer response on how shiatsu is classified. And I think this effort did pay off finally, lots of emails and phone calls that resulted in the classification of shiatsu being changed to more along the lines of therapeutic massage. So alongside therapies like remedial massage. And that was important through the pandemic and allowing people to continue to practice best they could. I should say, despite the difficulties due to the pandemic, the financial position of Staa did improve, particularly last year, really with the implementation of careful cost management. And I should thank our treasurer, Alison Brown, for all her great efforts in that area, and also increased revenues for the online services that we can provide members. So the events team, there's a few members here now, so Anne and Belinda and Fong did a really great job. I should say Amel, who isn't currently here, but they all did a great job in making sure that the effort there was one of really thinking hard about what would be valuable for people to look at and to learn from, who to learn from, etc. So it's all paid off in lots of different ways. But most importantly, I think to provide a good community and training sessions for our members. And overall, that work has seen from 2020 to 2021, we turned a sort of a loss into a gain financially for the organisation. So the association is currently in the black, which is good. And that's, I think, in the backdrop of a pandemic, I think that's a pretty amazing achievement. So I think well done to everyone. We also, late-ish last year, welcomed Liz Ellerbach to which she's waving there to everyone, to the position of administration manager. Liz has done a really fantastic job since she arrived. She's had to deal with managing the 2022 membership renewal cycle, which is always a large challenge, and did that, I think, with grace and aplomb. Everything's worked out really well, and also all the documentation for the AGM. We have to thank Liz for that, but also I should thank Anne Hocking, because Anne was a great help to Liz for over the last couple of weeks in particular to really get all the documentation ready. And there's parts of this which are actually legal requirements of an association that's registered as we are, and that's a really important thing that we have to remember and recognise. Liz has been a real pleasure to work with, added a great deal of value to the admin role since starting last year. So a big thank you to you, Liz. And just a few closing remarks. I'd like to firstly thank all of my colleagues on the National Council. It's been a pleasure and a privilege to work with everyone, some over the last few years and some just over the last year, but all continued on together in, I think, what was, we had to deal with some pretty difficult things, particularly in the last year, undertake a lot of important work, things like reviewing and renewing our strategic plan, which was a lot of work for everyone on the council. And that's all that work is done for all of the members who represent both the association and Shiatsu across Australia. And just some final thoughts I'd just like to share about Staa membership, because this question's been raised a few times recently. Although we've done a good job with, I think, maintaining our level of membership, sometimes it drops off. It has done. COVID didn't make things easy on that part for some people. There's a couple of phone calls I had recently with my National Council colleagues, and so we're sort of asking this question of why should someone, or would someone, consider joining Staa? And I've thought a bit about this since those phone calls, and just why did I join Staa more than 20 years ago? And maybe everyone here could think of their reasons as well. So what's my response? My initial and probably only response almost is community. And joining, people that join, rejoin, or remain with Staa. Staa's provided a supportive place for me and for, I think, all of us who I know close relationships with people in our community, formed by a set of like-minded, enthusiastic and understanding people who, in my experience, are always willing to answer questions, offer advice and give of themselves from the heart to help their kin. It's a place where colleagues become lifelong friends. Now, some people are more involved with the association than others, and that's all okay. I would say that every member, every person is very much needed and appreciated. There are, of course, other good reasons to join. It's a place of ongoing Shiatsu-specific training for workshops and conferences, when we can have them. Hopefully we can have them again soon, and to enhance and deepen our Shiatsu skill set. For me, my Staa membership's always given me a vital and vibrant connection to the Australian Shiatsu community and the support and deep nurturing that I need, that I don't believe would be possible to get anywhere else, other associations, etc. So these are the reasons why I'm here and continue to be here and enjoy being a member of Staa. And just final thank you to everyone again for coming today, and just now to enjoy the rest of the AGM. So I'll hand back to Anne. And you're on mute.
Sorry. All I'm going to do is read out some apologies. There are no proxies, but there are a few apologies. So there's an apology from Link McKelveny, an apology from Emma Straps, an apology from Jude Murphy, and an apology from Brooke Allen. So as far as that is concerned, I'll hand it back to you, Paul, now to do the minutes of the last AGM.
I'm on mute as well. Thanks, Anne. Yes, if I could please ask if someone is willing to move a motion to confirm the minutes from last year's meeting. Has it been read?
I can do that because I've definitely read it and I didn't write them, so I'll do that.
Thank you,
It's Anne.
Thank you. And maybe someone to second that motion, please. Linda? Linda has raised her hand there, Anne.
Okay, thanks. I can't see Linda. Thanks, Linda.
No worries.
Thank you. So, okay, as for the annual report that has been tabled, we have to, that's something as well that if I could ask someone is willing to move a motion to confirm that report. So that would be a report that was sent out recently by Liz for this meeting. So Alison has raised her hand for that.
Yeah.
Anne?
Thank you, Alison. And a second of that
second.
one for the 2022 annual report.
Kaya has raised her hand.
Thank you, Kaya.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, so I'd now like to hand over to our returning officer, Ardua Chipolato, who has kindly volunteered to be the returning officer. And she will now read out the nominations for the various positions of National Council, actually the dissolution of the current council, etc. So Ardua, I'll hand over to you. Thank you.
I now declare the 2021-2022 National Council dissolved. The following nominations have been made for 2022-2023 National Council. Paul Spence nominated for President by Dorothy Douglas and second by Fung Tang. Did I pronounce that properly? Yeah.
Yeah.
Fung Tang nominated for Vice President by Anne Hocking, seconded by Paul Spence. Alison Brown nominated for Treasurer by Fung Tang, seconded by Linda Rago. Anne Hocking nominated for Secretary by Alison Brown and seconded by Paul Spence. Dorothy Douglas nominated for Ordinary Member to do with Mentoring and Supervision Coordinator by Paul Spence and seconded by Linda Rago. Linda Rago nominated for Ordinary Member by Paul Spence and seconded by Anne Hocking. Belinda McIntosh nominated for Ordinary Member by Fung Tang and seconded by Anne Hocking. And Brooke Allen nominated for Ordinary Member by Paul Spence and seconded by Dorothy Douglas. All nominations have been accepted by the nominees, and there are currently National Council members from Queensland, New South Wales and Victoria. There are more positions that can be filled. They are Ordinary Members, Membership Secretary, Student Representatives and State Representatives. If you are interested in any of the above positions, please call Paul Spence or any National Council member for further details. That's it.
Well done, Ardua. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well done. Well done. Thank you. And welcome to all the National Council members. And I've spoken to Brooke prior to the meeting. He unfortunately couldn't join us today. Send his apologies for that. But yeah, look forward to working with him as well. And also just a big thank you to Kaya, who decided not to rejoin National Council, but has offered in her role on the education side to maintain contact with National Council and to really be supportive in that role, and I to work with over the last few years, and look forward to continuing that and deepening all of our relationship there. So thank you, Kaya. And with that, so we can now, so that's sort of those sort of formalities around National Council and nominations. And I just like now to open the meeting up for questions. Any other business people would like to raise, anything that we can help with, where we can, we will. And so just feel free to unmute yourself if you'd like to ask a question, and we can have a discussion.
Yes, Paul, I have a question for you. You mentioned before that shiatsu has become a therapeutic massage classifications. And does that mean that now we are become a essential worker? Let's say in the future, if we have future lockdown, we are allowed to practice shiatsu like the remedial massage people. Is that correct?
Sean, thank you for the question. I may ask Kaya to actually say something as well. She's the expert in this area too. But our understanding of that classification is along the lines of what you've said, where basically it would, rather than being part of the sort of personal care sector, and now part of the more therapeutic massage sector. And there's various levels. I think it's our understanding based on the correspondence we had is what you've said. We should be able to continue to treat. That was the understanding that we had. And it's not necessarily nationwide, and there may be some nuances state by state, but it's from the correspondence we had, particularly in New South Wales and Victoria, that was the messages that we were given. So it's something that we need to, maybe we need to put more messages out about that, to sort of look for consistency, to make sure people understand in the association what that means and what the sort of roles and responsibilities are that come with that as well, because it's sort of a uplift, I guess, in a sense, and there can be roles and responsibility changes obviously with that too. So, Dennis, did you also have a question?
Thanks, Paul. Probably just to sit on the back of Sian's comment. Do you know if that is the case, if we are now recognised in the same realm as remedial massage, if you've had solid advice, Paul, in the council, do you know where that might sit as far as now being recognised, having our provider numbers reinstated by private health insurances, as remedial massage often will have provider numbers?
No, I understand. Yeah, thank you. That's a slightly different question.
Is it?
Yeah, because there's a different process that's gone on around the recognition of government recognition that feeds through to those health funds. And I might even ask Kaya to make a comment here, because she's had a lot of experience in this area. And but it's definitely it's one thing to get through the pandemic. We had this change of recognition, and now beyond that, it's more work may need to be done around how to get recognised with those health funds. But we're further along than we were, I would say. But Kaya, if you'd like to say anything as well.
Yes, so Dennis, what they look at two different categories. So for the seeing us as essential health workers now, we're under the banner of unregistered healthcare practitioners. We're no longer into that personal care. For the private health funds, they're looking at individual modalities and individual qualifications. So they said with remedial massage, yes, we recognise your training, we recognise the research that's been done to back your effectiveness, and they made a specific judgment on remedial massage. Whereas with shiatsu, we're not taking this lying down either. There's ongoing research and reviews for they're called the National Health Review Committee, to say, look, the way you looked at the research was too restrictive. It was only in the last 5 years, it was looking at systematic reviews, it was looking at reviews in English. So all that, they've acknowledged that all that is being looked at, and it got slowed down because of the pandemic, but they are reviewing their decisions. So Shiatsu has put forward a really good case with solid research as well. So fingers crossed that it will go our way. Yep.
Thank you.
Yes, and those meetings are ongoing. I've attended the last 3 or 4, so we've had various people attend those through time. So it's definitely moving, as Kyra said, and we government processing, so we do have to wait for outcomes, but we definitely have a voice.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Thanks, Kai, for doing that. It's not a question, it's something else. I wrote to both Minister Greg Hunt before I think he's about to retire this year, and also on a state level, Minister Foley for Health. Whereas I just wanted to get some clarity as to, it's been my bugbear for a while. I mean, we all know that the massage shops that are just everywhere, shopping centres, street, you name it, they're there. And they compete with our audience. They're competing with our customer, and they're not regulated. And we all know that maybe the shop owner might have some form of qualification, maybe. But we do know that they employ lots of people that come in on a working visa, taught a simple routine, and let rip on the public. So, we've got to compete with these people. And we've had to go through, 2 years of training. We've had to spend $10,000, $15,000. We've had to go through anatomy. We have to keep up our skills every year. So, of course, I didn't get a reply back from either minister. But, has anyone else done this? Is anyone else concerned about the fact that we've got to compete with the same audience of all these places that are out and about? Yet we've had to go through fairly rigorous training and a recognition of, national recognised qualification. Has anyone else sought feedback from federal or state?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think Linda
Yeah.
wants to say something. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yes, Dennis. Hello, Linda Rago here. I have written to the relevant ministers and various people as well, and I received a letter back from a senator last week, which I've sent to Paul and Dorothy and Anne. Perhaps Staa could send it to you. It's clear but general, but it does say that they are re-looking at the role of shiatsu in among other modalities, and it states the situation quite clearly. So perhaps you'd like that just to read through, because it clarifies what you're asking. Yeah, my practice is going well, but it is affected by the rebate situation as well, and I'd like to change it as well. It's been going for, would we say 5 years now? Are we up to 5?
Close to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So I think
2019.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Linda.
Dennis, it's Belinda McIntosh here. I also wrote to my federal member, and I got a really pitiful response that was clear he didn't even read my arguments, and he no longer got my vote this election as a result.
Thanks for doing it.
So, but just to let you know that others have also. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
And Dennis, I think just my add here that from Staa's viewpoint, I guess one of the roles of the association is to advocate for, be an advocate for our members, and and that's as we did through COVID, and continue to do so, to continue to ask these questions and seek clarification, and we won't stop doing that.
Yeah,
but it can be just really, unfortunately, very slow going.
Yeah, coming from government.
But and also, as you said, I mean, it is. I mean, the difficult thing is there is no national sort of classification in a sense. It's sort of, as we found the code, state by state. The rules can be different. There may be a merging of things, of definitions, but it happens at different times. So, but one doesn't give up.
Yeah,
and we have the, as you say, I mean, the sort of qualifications. Interestingly, like if you look at, how we started some of this last year with the government was, looking at the Australian Bureau of Statistics, some of their classifications for working visas, for example, and where shiatsu there was alongside things like remedial massage, because of the things that you mentioned, at least 2 years training to get the qualification, professional qualification, etc. So, at the federal level, it's something that seems to be there as a sort of a consistent way to think about it. And then within states, it sort of varies, as we've said, some convergence now, as we've said as well. But my experience with this, and I know Dorothy has had a lot of experience as well, one just has to keep pushing.
Yeah, thanks.
Basically. Thank you. Any other questions or comments or anything to discuss? Open forum.
Just to add a little bit to that discussion, when Staa was doing its review of the review and revising and updating all the research to make a new submission to the commission, we actually did send out emails and templates for members to correspond with their politicians. So, and I'm pretty sure quite a few people actually did do that. That's kind of, that's not happening now, I guess, because we're just actually waiting really for the current review to move in some direction.
Thanks, Dorothy.
Thanks, sir.
So, Dorothy, is it possible that you can email those templates out to us again, so we can start hammering the new government, the Labour government? Let's hope now with the new health minister going to be sworn in next week, maybe, we can try to get our foot in this time and try to make it recognized by the health insurance companies.
I think perhaps it is good time to start speaking up again and making noise again, have our voices heard again. Yes, certainly during this time of change, it would seem an appropriate action. So, Paul, I guess that's something for the National Council to have a talk about and action on. Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Sharon. I think you're right, and it's and Dorothy, and I think it's just on the National Council going forward. And so certain areas that we obviously want to work on. We sort of last year, as I mentioned earlier, we did a lot of work on our strategic plan and vision and mission statements, etc. All the COVID communications, all those sort of things. And now coming into this year, now this sort of new council year, a lot more on the communication side, I think, with all the members. I'm going to also mention the Staa survey. I hope everyone here has had a chance to complete that, the workforce survey. That's really important for us to actually help guide what the council works on behalf of all the members. And it's something that we want to maintain, actually sort of some version of that year in, year out. And we'll be discussing that on council, how we best do that going forward. That's a really important thing to help us with the guidance of where we should go. So I think as just been mentioned, around making sure communications with the government are maintained, and we have an opportunity, as you said, with a new government. I think it's right. Can we get in there early and see what happens on that? I've had recent discussions around things like NDIS as well, which is a very difficult topic, I think, but something, again, unless one sort of tests the water and writes notes and letters and tries to get correspondence and feedback, that's an area where several members over the last couple of years have mentioned, what can Staa do about that? Is there a way for shiatsu to be recognized, etc.? Now, all that would be linked to these other things we've already spoken about. But I think nonetheless, not being shy about these things, we should sort of step into it and see where we can go. So I think there's all of those things are really important for the next sort of little while. And because as things are opening up more, of course, provides more opportunity, for our community to again re-establish with the public, and also within our community, things like if people are interested in and we think we all are having another conference at some point, where that's something I know that Anne's been looking at, and we should be able to have some news about that later in the year, hopefully for next year. So yeah, everything's starting to open up. It's a good time to be proactive and get as many people involved as we can. Not just National Council, where obviously, as volunteers, limited time, doing our best, but we have a large cohort of people across the country that can also pitch in as well. And so we'll be looking for help where we can get it.
I'd just like to say too that the complementary industry, complementary therapy industry as a whole is working more together as well. You might have noticed the workforce survey that was done, ATMS funded it, and they got together, Staa was on there as well, a lot of different associations together, again, gather information to present to government bodies to progress the standing, the profile of complementary therapies as well. So I see that as a really positive development too.
Okay. Any other questions or comments or?
Yes, I do. This is for everyone. I'm just not sure how everyone is tracking with their bookings after the COVID lockdown. What I experienced with my work is it's still very quiet, and it's like something like 40 to 50% less than what I used to get in terms of booking pre-pandemic. So I'm not sure whether everyone here experienced the same thing, or maybe I've done something wrong with my advertising, or I don't know what's going on. I was putting it down to maybe because of the elections coming, the election before. That's why people were very tight on their wallets and their purse. But yeah, so I don't know. How's everyone traveling with their bookings?
Same as you, Sean. Same.
Yeah, it's a bit of a worry. It's still very quiet. It's in the past, weekend used to be quite busy for me, and as you can see, I just I'm here with everyone, and throughout the week, it's also very quiet too. That's quite scary.
It's been obviously difficult. I guess we're up in Sydney, so our experience here, it's sort of a steady state. I think lost some clients, but others seem to have come along. So I would say that it's probably a bit quieter than normal, but nonetheless, it's sort of a rotation. New people come in to experience shiatsu, which is good. And some of the long-term clients sort of, we probably all experience this. They sort of come for a fair while, then they wander off for a fair while, and they'll come back again as they need to. So, but yeah, where we have our clinic, it's a bit of a health hub with other modalities, acupuncture. He's been pretty busy, I must say, and then other aspects of sort of, I guess, more Western well-being type practices as well, and they seem to be they were quiet for a while and sort of starting to pick up. So look, it's a bit of a mixed bag, and I think obviously depends where you're situated, but without a doubt, a lot of people still I think, do come in, you know, talking about their stress and anxiety and things. Now the question of, do they convert that conversation into a treatment? Yes and no. It just depends. But, yeah, that's sort of my experience, at least recently.
Yeah, so recently I just lifted all my restrictions on my websites. Before you have to adhere to the 1.5 meters, and you need to wear mask and all that kind of thing. I thought people maybe not interested in wearing masks, while they receive your shiatsu. So I changed my requirements for them to receive shiatsu, but still on the quiet side. Yeah.
Okay. And Linda?
I think it's a great time to broaden, well, this is my own experience, of course, to broaden the way we present our clinical practice to the public. So most people here would know a few years ago, quite a few now, started to focus my practice on respiration, the respiration system, breath work, a whole, I did studies with Western doctors and in a Western way, as well as went back to my shiatsu master and integrated this with my treatments and so on. And so now I find my business is picked right up because the local doctors, the word has got around the town that I'm really helping the clients who have come, who have either had COVID or some other heavy duty respiratory, it's very common at the moment, situation, have had a great outcome from their treatment. So I'm now getting referrals from doctors. I haven't even met them. I don't know who they are. I mean, I know who they are, but they don't know me. They've never come to me. Their clients have come to me and they're going back to them improved, and they're hearing this message. And I must admit, for me, that emboldens my way of presenting myself. And so for me, that gives shiatsu a really good name. I think it's playing it forward. That's how I feel. And I go about it with that kind of heart because it's the only way I can seem to present myself. So that's my response for the discussion or contribution. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Linda. That's a very good recommendation. Maybe I should start visiting the local health centers or the local hospital, or I don't know, or the GPs. Or thank you.
The other thing I did, if I'm to really disclose how I've managed to do very well through COVID, is I took on an NDIS client. I became a carer for her. She has multiple lifelong degenerative conditions and problems, and her condition has changed remarkably. And so while I don't say, well, that's because of the shiatsu, and I don't shove that at them, they're all asking, all her relatives are asking, the people who run the funding for it are saying, well, why is that woman's outcomes really improving? I'm starting to disclose. It's a back door, but I'm happy to enter that way. I know that my shiatsu practice is really, really strong, and that's the way I present it. I don't mind what it's called out there. I know what the principles are. That's my position. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing.
Yeah, thanks, Linda. That sort of reminds that sort of saying that 1 grain, 10,000 grains. This idea of not necessarily advertising widely, but letting the work itself, the depth of that key that gets created, that really is a thing that expands and that influence that attracts then others to come in. So that's really great. Thank you. Any other discussions?
I just wanted to mention also, just to add to that, I wondered if it was worthwhile, if you have a cancer centre in your district, getting in touch with them, because although it might involve initially just doing something on a voluntary level, at least you're getting yourself known and shiatsu known. And I know that there's one member who has been working with the Cancer Centre in, I think it's Ballarat, I think, and she had a paid position there, and which she's now, it's being advertised so that another shiatsu person can hopefully come and take that role on. But she had very good feedback and very good results with the work she helped with those people. And I think that's a really important area for shiatsu practitioners to become involved with. You know, it's another avenue to get your foot in the door in a different kind of way.
Yeah, thanks, Liz. That's right. I was doing some work before COVID with a palliative care company as a volunteer, and that's, you know, COVID rules changed that a lot, but you know, there's definitely opportunities there, and as rules keep changing, you know, we can, it's definitely worthwhile, and that's all, you know, for some of these organisations, it's all sort of funded, you know, for the person who's receiving the care. And then maybe like NDIS in a sense, where if you're self-managed, you can choose what you'd like. But to have a bridge between you as a practitioner and then an audience of potential clients through some organisation like that, as you mentioned, is definitely a good way to go. All right. Any other? Anne, what would you like to do next?
I don't know if there is. I just wanted to add just one thing, is what I'm noticing just with people in general, with, you know, even the shiatsu community, is that coming out of COVID, it seems that everyone is wanting to do things slightly differently. So if someone's always, say, gone to, I don't know, to Noosa for holidays and had a shiatsu there, well, they're not necessarily doing that anymore. So everything's it feels to me that people are looking for different ways of doing things, looking for different ways with connecting with other people. And as part of our practices, I feel that's something we all need to do in whatever way as well, which, you know, I'm exploring too. I'm not certain what the answer to that question is, but to me, it feels like clients are looking for different things and we're all just looking for a different way to do things. That's my take on it. So there you go.
Thanks, Anne.
Yeah. Beautiful. So anything else? Anyone has comments, questions? Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. That was just lovely. Nice meeting. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Paul, definitely.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. Thanks to everyone. It's nice to be part of this community, and and thanks for everyone's support.
Just before you go there, and in the chat, I've received a message from Shan that he can't. Sorry, I'm just trying to read. Have you got the messages up?
Yeah, I have. I don't know why he. Shan, you're on twice, by the way. And I can't unmute you. You need to unmute yourself. So can you do that? Thank you. You're unmuted.
Ah,
there we are.
Yeah.
Well done. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Anne.
Okay, no worries.
Right, thank you.
Okay.
So if there's no other questions or comments from anyone? Okay.
May I say something?
Yes, of course.
I just wanted to thank the National Council from the previous one that is now elected for being such a great team to work with. For me as a new admin person, only coming on last year, I've felt very much supported, and it's been really good to work with you, and I'm looking forward to working with you all again for the next 12 months. So thank you.
Thank you,
Well,
Liz.
thanks, Liz. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I got a questions. Can we still get the white T-shirt with the Staa logo on at all?
Yes.
Dorothy.
Yes, you can, Sean.
Okay. Oh, great.
Yes. Perhaps phone me and we can have a chat about your particular requirements, and I'll see what we've got there in our stock.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. Thank you, Dorothy.
I'd like to express my appreciation for how Paul has carried Staa and the entire membership through the last 12 months in particular, with his calm demeanour, his considered attitude, his respect and care for individuals, and the steadiness of hand that he's brought to our operations through really difficult situations and conditions. And also to Anne Hocking for incredible amount of work that she has done to foster member services. I think that's been a really significant feature of the last 12 months. While Staa has not been so politically active in the external sense, the National Council actually very deliberately and consciously focused most of all of its effort on nurturing and supporting members' needs. And given the restrictions and with lockdowns and so on, it was obvious that we were steered in towards the online presentations. And Anne has worked tirelessly for countless hours to be creative, to be intuitive, to be resourceful, to be inspired and inspiring, just to really help bolster the morale of membership during these really awkward transitional times. Those people in particular. Also, my deep appreciation for the unique skill set that Kaya Seaton has brought to her role. And I'm a wee bit nervous about how we're going to manage with her not quite so closely involved, but I know that she will be available because, as you will have experienced from her responses today, she's very well informed and authoritative for us on all matters that are of educational research, and by inference, any sort of lobbying work and government connections or communications we may need to foster. And of course, there are other members of the National Council who I really value very deeply and am honoured to be working with.
Thank you, Dorothy. Very kind. And yeah, all I can say is I've been very fortunate as president to have such a wonderful team of support. And I'll say in particular, well, Dorothy for the last 2 years for me as the former president, the support that she's provided me has been enormous. And without her, I would not have been able to do what I have been able to do. And the same goes for, I think, the rest of the team. Vice President Fong Tan, she and I have worked together quite closely for the last few years as well, particularly in the last 12 months when she became vice president. And it's, yeah, just a real pleasure to work with and to, to be able to support and to be supported. And I think that's this community. Again, as I started my discussions this afternoon, to me, it's all about that community and the support that one can get if you're willing to be involved and in all different ways. And it's it's a real privilege to be part of this. So thank you to everyone again.
And also to acknowledge the members of National Council who have managed our social media as well. I really appreciate that, because that's not something that I personally can manage with ease, but their contribution has also been quite integral to the events program, and hopefully will help to broaden our connections with other shiatsu associations and practitioners globally, as well as in Australia. So that role is tremendously valuable at this time as well.
Thank you. Thanks, Dorothy. All right. Well, if there are no other questions or comments, or we can, I think, declare the meeting closed at 3 o'clock, 3 p.m. Sydney time at least. I think it's 3 p.m. everywhere now, isn't it? Yeah. On the East Coast anyway, West Coast no.
Thank you. I will stop the recording now. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks,
Thanks
everyone.
for joining.
everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to see you all.
Lovely to see you all.